But the wise shall shine brightly, like the splendor of the firmament, and those who lead the many to justice will shine like stars forever. This verse from the book of Daniel caught my attention immediately. What could be more encouraging to an educator at a Catholic university who claims as its mission the preparation of students for participation in the creation of a more just and humane world? In fact, this very verse appears at the base of the statue in the center of our campus that depicts the founding of our university. Those who instruct others unto justice shall shine like the stars forever, read the bronze lettering beneath Father Samuel Mazzucchelli and the 19th century young women, daughters of immigrant miners, receiving their astronomy lesson on the shores of the Mississippi River. I was also struck by the fact that in this passage, the Lord praises the wise and calls attention to those who lead us onto the paths of justice, precisely at a time in Jewish history when the people were experiencing unsurpassed distress. During the period in which the prophet Daniel speaks, sacred sites of Jewish worship were being profaned by foreign rulers. Religious freedom was threatened, and the great powers of the earth were at war with one another. Violence and fear lurked around every corner, and the people were struggling for liberation and for faith. Those were times perhaps not like our own. We also live in a distressing age full of violence and fear. Our heads are filled with news and images of children locked in cages at the border, young people shot down in our streets, hurricanes destroying our towns, journalists disappeared, sexual abuse in our places of work and worship. Not to mention the more private distresses we carry in our personal lives, like caring for aging parents, suffering from mental illness, experience the breakup of families. In such times as these, where do we turn? How do we set our feet, as the psalmist says, on the path of life toward the fullness of joy? Who can show us the way? The scriptures call us to consider all the great teachers of our lives, both inside and outside the classroom. The psalmist invites us to remember those whose wisdom has had a great impact on us. The prophet's voice calls us toward those whose witness to justice has challenged us. In tumultuous times, when we are under duress and anxious about the future, the living word acts as our guiding North Star, bringing us into the joyful presence of God. We mine both memory and imagination for the wise ones who can lead us to liberation. From my own life, I remember Mary Ellen, my pastoral counselor when I was going through a very painful divorce many years ago. Sadness, distress, and turmoil around my self-confidence had led me to her door. She memorably advised me, "The only thing you can control in this situation is who you are going to be." All these years later, now in a happy marriage with 2 wonderful children, I have not forgotten that her wise insight led me to the path of hope and forgiveness. I remember Sister Patty, who comforted me during challenging years in my professional life. I was struggling at work and confused about what my future would hold. "I love you for who you are, not for what you do," she said. And she showed the truth of her love in countless ways. Her faith and companionship saw me through a dark time. It led me to the discovery of my life's calling, and eventually to the very fulfilling ministry I enjoy today. I see my former student and now colleague, Fanny, brought to this country from Mexico by her parents when she was just a little child. Fanny saw her future unraveling amidst a rising tide of anti-immigrant sentiment and growing threat of deportation. At a demonstration demanding educational access for immigrants like herself, she stood tall before the rallying cry and declared, "I am undocumented and unafraid." Her courage changed the world. I think of those known to me, and perhaps to you too, only through their writing and public action for justice. Remember leaders like Nelson Mandela and his struggle for liberation in South Africa, St. Oscar Romero and his clarion call for Christians to transform history, Malala Yousafzai and her brave insistence on the education of women and girls, Wangari Maathai and her creative healing of the earth. And how about you? Who comes to your mind? Who are the wise ones shining brightly in your life? Who are the ones leading you to the path of justice? It's true, isn't it? They are splendid. They do shine brightly. Their ways are the ways of life and joy. I have no doubt that when the Son of Man comes again in great power and glory, they will be gathered among the elect. May their example lead us to justice on earth and to joy in the eternal presence of God.